Hi everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome back to my Flosstube channel. This is where I talk a lot about cross stitch and some of the things that have been going on in my life and the cross stitch projects that I'm working on, and maybe any stash or stuff that I've purchased along the way. And I can't quite remember what Flosstube number we're up to. I think this might be episode 11. Today is Sunday, the 14th of November, and since we last caught up, a lot's been going on. Before I really jump into everything, I do want to say a big welcome and hello to all new subscribers, all new viewers, and a big hello and welcome back to all returning viewers and subscribers. I also do want to do a really big shout out to Tess. She has a Flosstube channel called Tess Stitches, and I actually met her on the Mittagong Stitches retreat that happened. Gosh, it's been roughly 2 weeks now since we've had that. Wow, so much time has passed. It feels like time has passed. A lot has passed and a lot has happened in between, and what I really love with that and with the Stitches retreat and everything in between is that I met Tess. She's a Canberra girl too, which I am really jazzed about. I feel like the more that I'm participating in Flosstube, stitching retreats and all the rest, the more people I'm getting to meet, and I love it. It is really cool and exciting. And so, Tess, I hope you're doing really, really well. I hope you're feeling better soon, and that you can be up and mobile and doing all the things that you want to do, need to do, love to do. So, yes, hello, hello, hello. And it's yeah, Canberra. It is spring. It is super windy today. So, if by chance the microphone picks up on some sounds and such that are going on around the place, especially maybe some rattling kind of sounds, that would be the wind that's blowing through right now. So it's springtime in Canberra. A lot of restrictions have eased, and it's a good thing in the sense that we have a lot more freedom now to do what we want to do and need to do. It means no more masks inside or outside, with I guess a few exceptions. So if we're at like a hospital or high risk kind of environment, or even as a personal choice, we can wear masks, and that brings with its own challenges. Canberra's climate is renowned for lots of pollen. We have lots of grasses and plants and flowering plants and such that are awesome for hay fever. I'm one of the many hundreds of thousands of people that suffer from hay fever. For me, I've grown up with it, and it comes and goes, depends on the seasons as to how bad it is. Sometimes I think that I'm triggered more by grasses than I am by pollen. Other years it feels like I'm triggered more by pollen than I am by dust and grasses. So this year it does feel a little bit more like the pollens are triggering me a little bit. I feel like I'm more sensitive to smell or certain smells. So one of the really good things and bad things for the room that I'm recording from at the moment and the room that I do a lot of my professional work from is I have about 4 jasmine plants that are outside growing along my side fence, and I love the smell of jasmine. It's the star jasmine plant, and it's out in bloom at the moment. The wind's blowing quite a lot of the flowers away, but if I'm wanting to or needing to have the window open to bring some fresh air in a bit, I usually end up sneezing quite a lot, and all the other symptoms that go with hay fever. The annoying thing with hay fever is apparently a lot of the symptoms for hay fever are connected to the wonderful pandemic that we are experiencing. So to me, that's frustrating because I don't want to have to go and get tested every time I sneeze my head off because I get hay fever. So that one's going to be a challenge to live with, going into, I guess, the new world, so to speak. And the additional challenge is I know I'm suffering from hay fever because last weekend my boyfriend and I went down to the coast, which is probably about 2 hours drive away from where we live, and I did not sneeze for nearly 4 days. It was heaven. It was bliss. It felt really good. I could breathe properly because I was near the ocean. Yes, there were definitely flowers around, and hey, it was still springtime. It was just a different climate, and it made the world a difference. It was wonderful. And I also realised that I'm stepping around quite a lot. I'm using a stand desk right now, and I'm standing, and I guess as part of me talking with all of you and being aware of my surroundings and my rambling, I step around quite a lot. So my apologies for any ill effects that I am having on your vision while you're listening to me talking. Okay, so my apologies for rambling on about hay fever and the wonderful world that it is to be in Canberra during spring. So aside from that side of things, I have mentioned that I did participate in the Mittagong Stitches Retreat. So that took place at the end of October, very early November, and my goodness, I also want to do a big shout out to Mitch Stitch and Kerry, the crafty curator. Thank you both so much for all of your efforts with organising the Mittagong Stitches Retreat. I only know a small portion of the time and effort that both of you have put into organising it, and from what I know, it is not an easy thing to do. So thank you both so much for all of your efforts and the time that you've spent into getting it organised and everything. Thank you. It was absolutely awesome. I loved it. I love being able to connect again with so many Australian stitches, and I loved being able to just, like, even though it was a digital retreat and I was still spending more hours than I care to admit in front of the laptop, to be able to chat with people, talk with people, stitch with people, even though it was done virtually, done online. It was awesome. I just loved being able to connect with everyone. And what I hadn't realised until we all started talking with each other, how many people were actually from Canberra or the Canberra region. That blew me away so much. And it opened my world up a lot more to realise that there's actually a bigger cross-stitch community in Canberra than what I ever realised. And yeah, that has just filled my cup a lot with happiness. So what I am needing to get around to doing is coordinating my timing of things that I do on the weekend to being able to go and catch up with many of these lovely ladies that I met on the retreat, who catch up either in, I keep wanting to say Bungendore, Belconnen. I have grown up in this area my entire life. I should be able to get the words right. So they catch up at Belconnen by memory once a month. And at least fortnightly down at the Crafty Frog, which is south side. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. And I have a feeling that Canberra is just going to remind me millions of times how small it can be. So, Canberra, we have well over 300,000. We're probably getting close to the 400,000 mark of people who live here. I really hope there's more than that. Sometimes I say that Canberra's like just a suburb of Sydney almost because of our size. But what I'm getting at here is, I'm sure as I start attending many of these stitching groups, we'll end up starting to realise connections of who knows who, how, what, when, where, why. And I know already through the Canberra Stitching group, Facebook group, that I already know another person unintentionally through work who is also a crafty person as well. So that already just has me excited, going, oh my gosh, that is just so cool. And through work, I do really like this person. So, in terms of valuing her opinions professionally, and then knowing that she's a crafty person as well, that makes me really excited. So, with the Mittagong Stitches retreat, there were a number of challenges that I half-heartedly participated in, where I participated in it, and I guess I'm learning still in terms of how some of these challenges can work, where my understanding is that I could have entered multiple projects into, say, one challenge. So a challenge might be stitch something spooky because the event was happening around Halloween. So if I'm understanding correctly, if I had, say, 3 or 4 different spooky themed projects, I could put 200 stitches into each project and go into, say, have 4 entries or 4 runnings into winning a prize. That's my basic understanding. So what I did was, the first challenge, the spooky challenge, I worked on Scaredy cats. The artwork is by Jeff Haynie, and it's Heaven and Earth Design. Well, Heaven and Earth Designs charted the pattern, and I have in previous episodes started talking about stitching this project, and at the moment I'm not sure if I'm really feeling it. So I'm just going to grab the project I've got, because I'm standing desk in front of me. I have limited space for desks, or desk space. So this is what the project looks like after 200 stitches being put into it. So I'll just bring it a little bit closer. And I'll also do a picture comparison so you can see, I guess, how much has or hasn't been done. So what I've done with this project, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time either, but some wonderful ladies on Full Coverage Fanatics Facebook group, they helped me out quite a lot with just reassuring me that 1/1 is definitely the best way to go for Heaven and Earth Designs, for coverage things, because on this fabric, by memory, is the 25 or 28 count, and I've definitely found over time that 1/1 on 25 or 28 count works best for me. And in some circumstances, I think it does depend a little bit on the thread. So I'm using DMC, all the cord for numbers, threads, colours, and I think what I'm not quite feeling, to give you a comparison, what I'm not quite feeling with this is, I think the stitching and how it's coming out so far, to me, I'm just feeling really, really disappointed with the comparison of how it's turning out. So I'm still looking to persevere, and it could also be my printer in terms of how that's turning out, in terms of the cover page compared with the stitching. So I'm hoping that as I get closer to the actual cats and the pumpkin and such, that the project will start coming to life and I'll start falling in love with it again. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm just worried I'm going to fall out of love with it. So that was my first entry with one of the challenges. And I think I started doing the challenges Saturday afternoon. So Friday night I did log on and started stitching with some of the ladies, and at that stage I was just working on one of my projects, and I hadn't realised until taking a closer look at the prompts and the challenges and such that I could have started using that project a lot sooner for one of the challenges, but I'll get to that really soon. So the next project that I've been working on but was not connected to the Mittagong Stitches Retreat is a hot cross stitching design called Mini Mushrooms. So I sometimes call this the Gundaroo Mini Mushrooms, and so this is a photo that I took a few years ago out of my parents' farm, and this has probably been the first official project that I've been working on for hot cross stitching and doing the model stitching for it. So what I'll do is I will get some comparison photos up, but I also want to take a few steps back to actually show you what this is looking like. Okay, so I know I'm a fair way back, but this is a little bit of how big the project is going to be. So to bring it in a little bit, so I'm stitching this on 14 count Ada. I think it's like meant to be a mushroomy kind of brown, and I'm roughly halfway through the project. So I'm, pardon me, working on the bottom left corner. So I'll bring this in. There we are. So the bottom left corner, and so this is where there's a lot of grasses and sticks and different things happening. And once that particular page is done, I'm actually contemplating whether or not I'll actually finish the second half. Because if I finish the second half, this will be what it'll look like. But if I only do the first half, then let's see, if I only do the first half, then it'll look roughly like that. So I'm not sure if you can hear it all, but the rain has just kicked in. So it's probably just a bit of a rough shower that probably won't last long. So the next project that I've been working on is actually the one that I started stitching on Friday night for the Mittagong Stitches Retreat. So this is the black and white rolled up daisy for hot cross stitching, and this particular project I'm stitching on 18 count black Ada. So I've actually ironed the fabric. So this is pretty much all the fabric, but I don't imagine that the project will take up the entire fabric. So what I've started doing with this project is, with the background, I'm slowly transitioning it into half stitch and eventually no background stitching at all, just to really highlight those light coloured petals. And so this is where hopefully it'll work out. So this is another model that I'm stitching for hot cross stitching, and yeah, it should turn out pretty well. So it's pretty much a rolled up flower that I think at night time it curls up, and it'll also rain. Sorry, I'll bring this around a little bit better. So it had also rained earlier that day when before I'd taken the photo. So what you may also be seeing are drops of water on some of the petals. So I'm really hoping that the pattern will really pick up on that. So the next project that I worked on, and I don't remember if I actually included this in one of the challenges. I may not have. So the next one I worked on is the Dewdrop Daisy. And so this was the very first pattern that I've sold with hot cross stitching. And what I hadn't fully realised until this weekend was that just how much my boyfriend loves this picture and wants me to actually finish the project. So I hadn't fully realised that, and I love it. I'm really glad just how supportive he is of this. So this is what the project should look like by the end. And this is what I'm up to so far. So yeah, I'll include a picture of what it looked like before. So I've done quite a lot of work on the petals that are near, I guess, where you see the cat needle minder. And I swear I will eventually get used to how the cameras work here. So where you see the cat needle minder, it's not very clear. Let's see if I can hold this up better. So I filled in quite a bit of the petal near the cat needle minder, and so I am missing a few colours, and I will need to go to Spotlight or somewhere like that, or order something online, because amazingly I don't have every thread of DMC in my collection. I have multiples of some colours, but not every colour. So yeah, as I'm looking at this through the camera, through the laptop, wow, I can actually start to appreciate why my boyfriend is just loving it so much. So this is roughly how big it'll be. My boyfriend has just arrived home, so my apologies if you start hearing some noises and vibrations of his car coming into the garage, because on the wall in front of me, so behind this laptop, on the other side of that wall is the garage, and it's a single car garage, and the type of car my boyfriend drives, it has a bit of turbo in it and it vibrates in the walls. But that Dewdrop Daisy picture looks so cool. It looks really cool. So the next picture I know I entered in for one of the challenges is another hot cross stitching design, and it's called Flosstube made me do it. And I'm actually, as time goes on, I'm coming to realise that I'm probably going to need to change up the font for this particular pattern, just as some different options, because I'm finding that the M's, for example, they don't look great. They could be different. So with the challenge for this particular project was to use a type of like variegated floss. So I had quite a few different options, and what I chose was this one. So this one is called Wonderfeel razzle. And I'm assuming this is 50 yards. And this is got a really, really beautiful silky feel to it. And it's actually a lot thicker than a lot of the DMC threads. And I do have the option of splitting it up a bit and having some smaller strands and such, but no, I'm stitching this on 14 count. I shouldn't need to worry. And this actually ended up being more of a challenge to stitch with than what I thought it would. So what I learned with this was to not use as much, get this better. So to not have the thread as long as what I normally would if I was stitching with DMC cotton, because I found that if I had it at my normal length, so I was taking it off the spool, do like arm length, then fold it over, and that's how I'd get my 2 strands. And I would do the loop method for starting off my stitches, and I can still do that with this, but I think I'd probably need to actually split the strands a bit and not do the full strand. I realise I'm not being very clear. I'm feeling quite vague with this. I'm not describing things very well. So if I were to split the strands, a part of my challenge would be where to put the excess. Something for me to figure out. I think there's a possibility I could put it on one of the floss cards or something along those lines. There'd be options. It's a possibility. But yeah, I'm actually quite impressed with how the variegated thread has actually turned out for the M and the A. And pretty much once I'd done the 200 stitches for this pattern, I just put it down. I haven't picked it up since, because I've actually been doing most of my work on Dewdrop Daisy, or the black and white, rolled up daisy, and then spending time on the mini mushroom and spending a bit of time on Dewdrop Daisy as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on with stitching retreats and the projects that I've been working on. And when I was participating in the Mittagong Stitches retreat, what really got my brain ticking over was some more designs for hot cross stitching, and also just really trying to think of I guess some original things. But I guess half my challenge is that I have limited drawing skills, and I could definitely take classes and such to improve on that. And what the battle I've been going through in my brain, based on conversations that I had in the Mittagong Stitches retreat, was what sort of designs that could be Australian based, connected to samplers, because I know that samplers are a huge thing in the cross stitch world. And for ages it took me ages to properly understand what this huge fascination is with samplers and why they're such a big thing. Because I guess in the early stages of my cross stitch life, to me the samplers were grandma stitch, in a sense that they were things that older people did with cross stitch. And I guess as time has gone on, I can now properly appreciate why samplers are a really big thing and a big deal, quite potentially in the American world of cross stitch, because it is a representation of I guess a generation where the young girls and the young women were learning how to do embroidery, do cross stitch, and that many of the motifs would have representations of maybe their life, the world that they lived in at the time, some pretty borders, and the alphabet would then also be used to help with embroidering things like socks, bed sheets, clothing, and anything in between, so that when these things needed washing, whoever was doing the washing at the time would then be able to then give that person back the stuff that belonged to them. So any bed sheets, if they had the letters of KG on them, it would go back to me. For example, the bed sheets would go on my bed, my socks, clothing, and everything would get returned to me. So that I can appreciate the history, and some of the designs are quite nice. They're quite pretty, and that said, it's not quite my cup of tea. I think it would take a really special pattern or really special design for me to go, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to stitch that pattern and not be able to put it down. But it got me thinking, because I guess I'm still going through in my head a not quite early-ish midlife crisis, so to speak. I'm just reevaluating careers, that kind of thing. I have been doing it for a while, and the idea is going, okay, what sort of designs can we do that highlight Australia, recognising Australia's history for all that it is, the good and the bad and everything in between, and I guess promoting in a way some of the interesting things about Australian life, Australian culture, Australian history, and what can happen with all of that. So I also, for me, to do a lot of things, I need to see the value in it, so to speak, where, say, using my professional career as an example, I found that for me to really do well in what I'm doing and be motivated to do my work, I need to see the value in the company, organization, whatever it is that I'm working for, see the bigger picture and go, yes, I can buy into that. And because I'm buying into the bigger picture, I can then do the work that I need to do. And that's what I'm playing around with in my head when it comes to cross stitch. And for me to really feel passionate about talking about it with all of you through Flosstube, or even with the blog that is slowly dying off. I haven't written much for it in the recent months, and this is where I've been, I guess, running ideas through my head, thinking of, well, from a picture perspective, what could that look like? And doing Google searches and that kind of thing to see what designs people have already done. And Spruce Crafts are a wonderful website to look at, where they've done some really cute and quirky designs based on Australiana kind of stuff. So I'll try and insert a picture of some of the designs they've done of, say, biscuits, like the biscuit tin, in terms of biscuits that are by a company called Arnott. So, or even some other companies where we've got Tim Tams, we've got Tim Tams is the first one that come to mind. Like the all sorts, in the sense of the assorted cream biscuits, for example, like the Delta creams and the ones that got the bit of orange cream in the middle. I'm sure there's more I'm missing. Then there's also the likes of like the Vegemite jar, the peanut butter, the fairy bread, and those sorts of things. Then I'm not sure if Spruce Crafts have also done these sorts of designs, but there's at least another designer that I'm aware of who has also done pictures based on the capital cities around Australia and using little motifs that really highlight some of the common things that you might think of based on those capital cities. So with Canberra, for example, we've got Parliament House, Lake Billy Griffin. We've got some of these really interesting sculptures. So in the suburb of Belconnen, there is a particular sculpture which stands up on a pedestal. On one side, when you're looking at it, it looks like an owl. If you look at it from almost any other angle, it looks like a male body part. And we can have a bit of a chuckle over it. It feels almost embarrassing if you have like a visitor to Canberra in your car with you, and you have to travel that way and you drive past that statue. That said, it's almost no different to the sky whale. If you haven't seen the sky whale, it's a balloon. Do a Google search on it. It's a bit of a laugh. It's creative. It's different. It's different. Then I guess you've got the likes of Sydney, for example, where we've got, say, the Opera House. Then it would be, say, maybe Sydney Harbour Bridge, Circular Quay, the water there. The couple and those sort of things for the different capital cities as well. And then it's also just remembering that like Country Crafts, for example, by keep wanting to say Judy Law, but Country Crafts, Country Threads. I have already stitched a bundle of those designs, and they are wonderful, wonderful Australiana themed pictures, and ones that I aspire to a little bit of the ease in which people can stitch them, and what the different scenes of around Australia they represent as well. So there's those sorts of things as well, and then thinking, okay, well, what other sort of things can we do that sort of represent Australia, acknowledge the history that Australia has with its Indigenous peoples, and then all of the horrible stuff that happened in our history, of the colonisation of Australia and how poorly white people have treated Indigenous Australians, and that we've come a long way and we still have a long way to go. And that is not unique to Australia. There, unfortunately, are many of those sorts of situations happening in other countries as well. And it's going to take a long time, unfortunately, to improve. So recognising that and acknowledging it, and a part of the trickiness is still enabling the Aboriginal art to still be Aboriginal art and belong to Aboriginal people, because a lot of their artwork is amazing and it is unique to the Indigenous culture, because similar to the motifs and such that we have in the samples and such, where you got your houses, your flowers, and that kind of thing that represent things for the white culture, the Aboriginal cultures, they have these beautiful designs as well that represent different things, such as meeting places and I guess the different hunting styles, their hunting grounds, or even their meeting places for different water holes, or where they may have stayed for a few weeks and then moved on, and everything in between. So that is a challenge as well, of recognizing their art and their amazing artists and beautiful work they do, and then also look to the future as well. Of, well, okay, well, what does cross stitch in Australia look like into the future? Are we still going to be looking at samplers and that kind of thing, or the more unique and quirky pictures that different designers do, and anything in between? So some of the ideas, I've still got ideas that are bouncing around in my head, and thinking about whether I do anything based on key phrases, keywords, or whatever that that is unique to Australia, and what makes us the way we are. So hey, if nothing else, I'm sure I am prompting some of the viewers here on some of the things that you guys might be able to do as well. So just because I'm sort of thinking about this kind of thing and putting ideas out there, I know that hopefully anyone else out there will have some ideas of what you guys can do, because I have no doubt that in the world of cross stitch that we have some really amazing artists out there. So people who have this ability to draw, to paint, and everything in between, to then convert it into a cross stitch design. So there are the options of collaboration as well. That has definitely crossed my mind as well. Well, if there are people out there who have this wonderful, amazing ability to draw, to paint, or something, and we can somehow, like if it's a drawing, for example, scan it into the computer, or if it's a digital drawing of some way, to then convert it into a cross stitch pattern, or take a photo of it and do things that way. So I guess the world's our oyster in that sense with technology. So that is that. And sorry, for a moment there I thought I wasn't recording. Just realizing that I've been rambling a bucket load. So I hope to catch up with you all in the space of a couple of weeks. I probably won't be able to record next week. So my plans going into the next few weeks is definitely to do some more work on the Dewdrop Daisy. So to do some more work on this, hopefully you guys will see a heap more progress. So I'll probably do a little bit more stitching on the mini mushroom. I will probably be racking my brain again still of some Aussie themed stuff. That said, majority of the projects I'm working on are Aussie based. They just look like they could be taken from anywhere. So yeah, that's sort of where my headspace is. Thank you all. If you've lasted this long, thank you all so much for your time, your patience, and sticking with me, and letting me bounce some ideas off you and get my thoughts a bit clearer on what we're trying to do, what we want to achieve, and go from there. Because as we're nearing to the end of this calendar year, I know I'm going to have another crisis of faith, so to speak, and go, why on earth am I doing this? Why am I in the corporate world? Why am I not following some passions and things that can still help me live a comfortable life? And I'm sure we'll get there. And let's hope that restrictions continue to ease, that life keeps improving for everyone, that we can all stay as safe and as healthy as we practically can. I know that we'll have hiccups along the way. It's bound to happen. I have no doubt hiccups will happen. But the fact that we can hopefully move a lot freer than what we used to, that surely is a good thing. So until next time, I hope you all stay safe and well and have lots of stitching done if you can. And I will catch you all next time, and stay safe. See ya.